First of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Elizabeth Cooper, and I am the West Virginia SASP Director. SASP is short for State Agency for Surplus Property. Just to let you know a little bit about what we do down here, we are located in Dunbar, 2700 Charles Avenue. If you're local, then you know that's right across from Ben Franklin. What we do at Surplus is that when the state no longer needs an asset, then it comes to us. They retire it through us, and we actually have a little store down here to where you can come and you can purchase state surplus property. We also have vehicles. So we have a car lot down here, a used car lot. And currently, due to COVID, we have changed our hours. We are open Monday through Friday, except for holidays. And we are open from 9 to 3. Now, of course, you guys are not here to hear about the state side of surplus. I understand that. I'm just making you aware because a lot of people don't even realize that we exist. So you can come down here and look for state property. What you guys are wanting to know about today, of course, is federal surplus property. And we do have a warehouse that has some federal surplus property in it. All I have in it right now is file cabinets, desks, things of that nature. So if you guys are in need of something like that, then good news is we already have the property here for you. But what I'm going to do today is tell you how you can screen for property and let you know exactly what all the federal surplus property program entails. So moving on to the next slide. Just in case anybody wants to do a little bit of research, if you like to read state code, not that it's an exciting read or anything, but it does give you some information about what we are and what gives us or who we are rather, and who gives us the authority to do what we do. You can go to West Virginia Code 583-44, and it explains the authority and duties of the state agency for surplus property. Now, what is the federal surplus property program? Basically, when the federal government no longer needs an asset, what they try to do is if an agency no longer needs it, then they put it out there on GSA Access, and other federal entities have the opportunity to request the federal surplus property. If a federal entity does not request the surplus property, then it goes to, it actually becomes surplus, and it comes to the states. And what we do is we can request the surplus property, and then GSA will allocate to different SASPs throughout the country and U.S. territories. So just because you request something doesn't mean that you're going to get it. However, I can tell you that they're very fair when they decide who's going to get which property. They try to they look at a few different things: the population of the state, what other entities in the state have received property. They try to make it as fair as possible. But the Federal Surplus Property Program is actually administered by the U.S. General Services Administration through a partnership with the SASP. Now, the Veterans Program, we will also be partnering with the Small Business Administration and the Veterans Administration. The Veterans Administration is actually the one that's going to determine whether or not you qualify for the program. You're going to have to be a veteran-owned small business, and as far as what makes you qualify, you will have to go to the Veterans Administration page, which I will give you later, for them to determine eligibility. We don't do that part of it. Now, when the federal government passes on the surplus property to a SASP, they donate it. They donate it to every state. And then what we have to do is when we give it to a donee, you guys will be referred to as donees, then you have to pay an administrative fee to receive this property. So sometimes there's a little bit of confusion because they see, you see the law pass and it says federal free property. Well, as I said, they do donate it to the SASP, but they also require us to charge an administrative fee. And what they do is GSA will come in It just depends. There's different schedules, but anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 years, they come in and they review us, and they make sure that we are charging enough in our administrative fees to break even with the program. So we're not in it to make a profit, but obviously we cannot operate in the red either because we're not allowed to use state funds. We're supposed to make sure that our program is self-sufficient. Now, as far as the fees that we charge, to be honest with you, it's going to vary. It's going to depend on how many donees we get. The more veterans we get involved in the program, the more donees, then obviously you'll be paying less because the fees will be spread out more. To give you an idea of what it may cost, and like I said, this is just an idea. Before we request anything for you, we will discuss fees. But you're probably looking at about 10% of the original acquisition cost, and I will explain to you where you can find the original acquisition cost of an item. So if you have, for example, say you're getting a piece of property that originally cost the federal government $10,000, then you will probably have to pay $1,000 for it. So moving on, if you look down here at the bottom of this slide, it talks about the state plan of operation. Now, the state plan of operation provides the framework for how we administer the federal surplus property program in the state of West Virginia. And basically, it's not a real exciting read or anything, but it does give you an idea of what we are allowed to charge as far as fees and things like that. So if anybody's interested in that link, you can let me know, and I will provide you with the link. But like I said, it's basically a very long, boring document, but it does have a couple of papers in there that you may have to sign. It's got a copy of the application, things of that nature, but it's stuff that we're going to send to you anyway when you decide that you want to participate in the program. As of right now, if you go out there and you look on our federal surplus property page, you'll see a link to an application just at WVSurplus.gov, where you guys found the link to this. There is a link to the application. I will tell you that for the veterans, though, I'm going to change the first page because there's a whole lot of information that we ask for on the application that we don't need you to provide to us. So after this presentation, sometime within the next day or two, I'm going to put a new application out there that does not require all of that. Now, as far as what you can request through this program, you can only request items that can be used for your business. You cannot use these items personally. So say, for example, you have a farm, okay? You can't request a plane because I'm not going to give you a plane unless you can show me that you have an airport or something to where, which we know you're not going to, but that's just an example. You have to only request items that correspond with your business. Like, for example, if you have a farm, then it's very reasonable that you would request a tractor. However, if you do that, you have to use it in your business. If your dad has a farm down the road or a neighbor or whatever that has you can't go and be loaning your equipment out. You only can use it in your business for your business purpose. Now, also, when you request an item, you have to be able to place it in service within 12 months of the acquisition date. Now, what exactly does it mean to be placed in the service? Well, to give you an example, once upon a time, we had requested some generators for a state agency, and what they were using this for emergency response. So it's for major power outages, and you may do the same thing. Say you need a generator to run power at your organization should the power go out. Well, as far as it being in service, does it mean that you have to run your generator within the first 12 months? No, what it means is that if the power would go out within the first 12 months, if you go out there and you turn it on, it's going to run. So it's placed into service if it is ready and available for the use for which you requested it. The thing to remember about this program so that nobody gets themselves into trouble is that the federal government maintains title to the property for the first 12 months or longer based on the original acquisition cost. Well, what does that mean? What it means is if you request property and you haven't used it for 12 months, say you use it for 10 months and you sell it, well, that's where it's going to get you in trouble because you have sold something that does not belong to you. You do not have title until your compliance period is over. And as I was saying, most items are 12 months. Now, if you receive something that has an original acquisition cost of $5,000 or more, then you have to use the item for a period of at least 18 months. So to make that a little bit clearer, say you get an item and you have to make repairs to that item, and it takes you 7 or 8 months to do the repairs, which is fine because you have 12 months to put it into service. But say that on the 8th month is when you finally put it into service, you still have 12 months after that period before you have title to it. So you would be looking at a total of 20 months before you have title. Or if it's something that costs $5,000 or more, you're going to add the 8 months to the 18 months before you actually have title. And we'll help you out with that. If it has an original acquisition cost of $5,000 or more and we have to use the longer compliance period, we're going to follow up with you. We're going to make sure that you put the item in service. We're going to send you a questionnaire, and you're going to tell us the location of the item so that if we want to come out and check to make sure that you still have the item and that you are using it properly, we have to know where to come to. So you will receive compliance checks from us, and when you no longer have a compliance period, when your 18 months is up, then we're going to send you a letter and we're going to say, hey, you did good. You now have title to the property. So if you need to sell it or whatever, you can do so. So we'll follow up with you to make sure that we keep you out of trouble. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about GSA Access. So you need to write down the website, or if you look down here at the bottom of the screen, it says GSAaccess.gov. That is going to be the website that you want to go to. And what we're going to do is when you get your application for eligibility filled out, you're going to have to provide proof that you are registered with the VA. And then once you do that and we approve your application, you can go and we're going to give you a login and we're going to give you a password. And when you go to GSAaccess.gov, you're going to click on the login button on the right-hand side of the screen. And then when you do, this is what you're going to see. And you see right at the bottom of this, too, it reminds you that you have to contact us for the user ID and password. Used to be we could give everybody a generic password and user ID and password for everybody, but GSA has now changed the requirements. So they're saying that we have to give everybody a unique user ID and password. So once you put your user ID and password in there, this is the screen that you're going to see. And this screen gives you a number of ways that you can click on the advanced search, and you can search for items based on the type of item that you're looking for. If you look below there, the total number of items you see says 29,000. So there's a lot of stuff that you can go out and screen for, but it breaks it down into the type. You guys would probably, a lot of you based on the phone calls that I have received and the emails, you're probably going to be looking at agricultural equipment and supplies. So you could click on that, and when you do, it's going to show you everything that is available. Now, there's a few things that you need to keep in mind. What you need to pay close attention to is your screening end date. And you can see that's right there in the middle. And this particular one says that screening ends April 21st, 2021. Now, if you look here, though, this is still available. So technically, if you guys would have a need for a boat in your business, then technically you could request this. What you need to do, though, is you need to look closely at the item description. It'll tell you what needs to be done to this property. Now, if you look at this one in particular, it says the trailer needs to be rebuilt, and the tires are flat, so engine does not work. So you need to pay close attention to items and the description so that you see whether or not it's something that you want to request. Does it look like you would have the funds to request this item? Do you work on boats? It may be easier if you actually have a business to where you work on boats or whatever. You would know how to fix this, and it wouldn't, you could probably do it without having to hire somebody. So all of that needs to be taken into consideration when you are requesting items. And another thing that you should look at on this screen is your original acquisition cost. Well, what's that going to tell you? Well, it's going to tell you that it's over $5,000. So that means that you have to put the item in service within 12 months. That's the same for everything. And then in addition to that, then you have to actually use this item for 18 months before you receive title to it. It also tells you at the bottom of the screen, it tells you the item location. So this particular item is in Maryland. So you need to consider a couple of things. Do you have the means to go and pick this item up? If so, it's going to save you a lot of money if you can go pick it up yourself. If not, and you have to have somebody else pick it up for you, if we have to have somebody else pick it up for you, obviously that's going to be a little bit more expensive. Now, I can tell you we recently purchased a rig so that we could go out and we could haul some stuff back if it will fit in a trailer or if we can hook it up to a trailer. Now, currently, we do not have a trailer. I will tell you, though, I'm actively searching. I'm looking for a flatbed trailer. There's a couple of things that, I obviously have to consider as I'm looking, and that's why it's taking a little bit of time. I need to know whether this trailer will line up with a dock or not, if there's another means by which I can load items up onto the trailer. What's the weight? What am I going to be carrying? So it's taken me a little bit of time to find just the right trailer, but I am working on it. However, if you see something that you want and I don't have the means to send somebody out to pick it up for you, I do have shipping companies that I can work with. However, if I do have to hire a shipping company to get an item to you, then that's going to affect your cost because you're going to be responsible for all of the shipping costs. Now, for smaller items, though, you might be able to contact the property custodian, and it could even be sent maybe by FedEx, UPS, something like that. Of course, obviously, what I'm looking at now is bigger items, or what I'm talking to, but you guys might have smaller items that you can have shipped to you, and then you can work directly with the property custodian to get those items shipped to you. And once again, like I said before, we will answer your questions and we will help you. So when you request the property, if you're not sure about how you're going to get it shipped to you or whether or not we can go pick it up, we can discuss all that before we request property on your behalf. I will tell you that we are going to try to increase the inventory that we have here. Now, the type of stuff that we're going to be looking for is obviously any farm equipment, anything like that, because of the calls that we have had and the emails that we have had from veterans. We're going to be looking at getting generators here, things of that nature. And when you fill out your application for eligibility, there is a want list that's attached, and it is required by GSA that we find out what it is you're looking for. So we're going to pay close attention to your want list, and we're going to use those to determine the type of equipment that we want here. And then what will happen is, rather than you guys having to look on GSA Access all the time to tell us what you want us to request on your behalf, we're hoping to build our store or our warehouse up down here so that you may be able to come down here and just look and find what you need, and you'll have it right here available to you. So I'm going to go on to the next screen, but I do want to point out just one thing. Up at the top here where it says back, when you are looking at something and you want to go back in the GSA Access site, you need to click this back button. If you go to the top of the screen and click that back arrow, it's not going to work, and they have been telling us for some time that they're going to correct that, but as far as I know, as of right now, that is not corrected, so you will need to click the back button. And one more thing before I leave this screen, if you look at the item control number, when you email us and ask us to request an item on your behalf, please include the item control number. Now, there's a couple of emails that you're going to see at the end of this presentation. You're going to see Matt Harper's email address, and you're going to see Doug Elkin's email address. Right now, either one of them can request property on your behalf. So what you will need to do is send them an email, and you're going to say, I would like to request, you know, this item number, this is what it is, and this is the purpose for which I will be using the item in my business. And you're going to put that in the email. And then we will print that and keep it in the file so that when GSA comes in and reviews us, then we can say, okay, you know, they have a farm, therefore they requested the tractor for use on their farm. We say, okay, this is a reasonable request, therefore we will go ahead and request this item for them. GSA looks at it and they say, perfect. You know, we do agree that they can have a tractor because they have a farm. Now, before I click on to the next screen, though, just real quick as I'm thinking of stuff here, there are a few items that we will not be able to request for you. Or to give you an idea, they told us that the type of businesses, rather, that cannot request items, if you are considered an illegal business at the federal level, it doesn't matter if you're legal at the state level. Now, for us, it's not going to apply because we know that cannabis is not legal in this state nor at the federal level. But to give you an example, you know, there's been a lot of states that have legalized it. However, since it is still illegal at the federal level, I can tell you right now that the VA will not approve you for any activities related to cannabis activities. So there are some activities in which they're going to say, no, you can't do it, it's denied. However, you won't even make it to us at that level, because what will happen is when you try to go in and register as a veteran-owned small business, that they're not going to approve your application anyway. Okay, so moving on to the next screen. What this is here, I actually went to the VetBiz page and I scrolled down to the bottom and it says frequently asked questions. This is what you're going to see when you go out and you click on that. All of these questions are going to come up. And I know that there was a questionnaire out there you could click to see if you even qualify. And then if you do, then you can see the required documents, the pre-qualification. Hopefully this answers a whole lot of your questions. And then it says start the verification application process by executing the following task. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to do, how you need to create your account. There's a help center and everything, and then there's also an 866 number over here on the side that you can call to have any of your questions answered. Now, what I'm going to do for right now, I'm going to mute my phone here for about 2 or 3 minutes up till about 10:30 to give everybody time to submit any questions if you have questions. And then after, when I come back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the surplus application. So you guys go ahead and take a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back with you. I am back. Moving on, like I said, I want to talk a little bit about the application for eligibility. The first page of the application is, like I said, I don't have it on there just yet, but it's basically just going to ask for your legal name and your mailing address. Also, even though it asks for a mailing address, you need to put a physical address on there if possible, because, like I said, we're supposed to be able to come out and see the property if we need to. So we like for you to put the physical address on there. Now, the only person that is going to be able to sign this application is going to be the Chief Executive Officer, which, of course, is going to be the business owner at this for any of the veteran-owned small businesses. Now, we're going to have a certifications and agreement page that you're going to have to sign. And basically, it gives you the federal property requirements. It explains to you what I just explained a little while ago. You cannot use this for your personal use. You cannot loan the property out to anybody unless, of course, you're in the business to where you rent certain property out. Then we would have to look at that. But as far as loaning it to anybody, you cannot do that. Keep in mind, as I've mentioned numerous times, the compliance period, because it's just so important that you realize you do not have title to this before the end of the compliance period. And what will happen is, if you're caught loaning the property out or doing anything that you're not permitted to do, then you will have to get the property back to surplus. If you take this property and you decide that you don't want it, or you request it and you realize, oh my goodness, I can't fix this, I should not have requested something that needs to be repaired, then you are responsible for getting the property back to us here at Surplus. Now, there's different ways that, we can go about that. But for the most part, just keep in mind, if you can't repair it or you decide that you don't want it, then you are responsible for getting it back to us. Now, if you intentionally, and no, I'm not saying anybody's going to do this, but I like to just give everybody a heads up. Since it is federally owned property, if you intentionally misuse it, violate any of the terms or conditions or anything like that, then you could be held criminally liable. So it could be that GSA would come in, then they contact the IG's office, and then, you could be prosecuted. Now, we don't see that. I can tell you right now, I've been doing the Federal Surplus Property Program for a very long time. I have been with the State Agency for Surplus Property, I think about 10, 11 years. And in all the time that I have been here, I have only seen them come in and open up one compliance case. And to be honest with you, the intent, just to give you an idea, because I want you to be fully aware of how important it is to use this property correctly, what happened was you had a mayor and some people in a town that requested some campers, some travel trailers, and they did it with the intent of claiming that they were going to use it for the 18 months, just so at the 18 months they could turn around and sell it to themselves for nothing. And once GSA got wind of what was going on and they hadn't really used the travel trailers the way that they were supposed to use them, they did come in, they did prosecute the individual that signed the distribution documents for the city. and the mayor had passed away, so he could not be prosecuted. However, the person that signed the paperwork did actually do jail time. So when you get this property, it cannot be with the intent of, oh, I'll own it 18 months. I'll just pretend that I'm using it for 18 months. It doesn't work that way. And like I said, we will be following up to make sure that you are using the property correctly. So that's why I just want to stress what's going on, or what happens with GSA and the property. I can tell you they're great to work with. It's a great program, but you do have to be sure that you're using it properly so you don't get yourself in trouble. So what you're doing with this application is you are signing at the bottom here stating that you fully understand the federal property requirements. And as I said, I will put it on the website so that you guys can get a link to the application and you can read and see exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Now, keep in mind also, when you get this property, you cannot cannibalize it. You can't get a tractor just to fix a different tractor that you have. It doesn't work that way. You're not allowed to cannibalize property unless you request permission from us and GSA. So we have to approve it, and GSA has to approve it also. So don't request property with the intent of cannibalizing it for something else, because we're not going to permit that, and we would have to look very closely at your cannibalization request to see exactly what it is that you're requiring or that you are requesting to do. Now, the next page of the application is going to be your authorized representatives page. What you will have to do with that page is the CEO, the business owner, has to sign at the bottom, and then you can list different representatives that you will allow to come down here and shop on your behalf. So if you have, a secretary or anybody like that, or a spouse that's involved in your business, then you're going to have them, you're going to write their name on this page, and then over to the side, it's got a signature. They need to sign that. And the reason that they are signing that is they are saying that they too understand the federal property requirements, and they understand that they're not coming down here to shop for anything personal. It's only for the business. Now, another thing that you need to realize when you send somebody down here is you cannot purchase with cash. You cannot purchase with a money order or anything like that. You have to have either a check or a credit card in the name of your business. And it has to match your business. So if you have, 3 or 4 different businesses out there that say aren't related to this veteran-owned small business, say it's, some other type of business that's not registered, please keep in mind you cannot send a check down here in the name of that other business. It has to be the exact name that you are registered with and that you have submitted on this, the name that you've submitted on this eligibility application through Surplus Property. Now, the next page of the application is just going to be your list of interested property types. And like I said, you're just going to mark what you're interested in. Please know that this in no way limits you to that type of property, nor does it obligate you to that type of property. This is for informational purposes only. GSA is wanting to see what are veterans interested in, and as Surplus is the West Virginia SASP doing everything that they can do to help them get that type of property. So that's why you want to put down the property. And I can tell you, we put some stuff on here that a lot of people are interested in, like, vehicles, office furniture, boats, things of that nature. But there's another at the bottom, and you can just list whatever you might be interested in. And the last page of the application is the Non-Discrimination Assurance. Now, what does that mean? When you sign this, you are saying that you do not discriminate in your business against anybody, that anybody that wants to do business can do business with you. And that's all that you're saying when you sign this, is that you do not discriminate. And now if you get federal property, I can tell you, we may send you a couple of signs that you're required to hang up in your business. That, we'll send you a do you know. post it or poster, and it will, or a sheet of paper. However, I'm not sure if we still have the posters. Once upon a time, GSA sent us those. It may just be a printout. But it's a do you know. And it's, okay, do you know that you can only use the federal property for your business? You cannot use it personally. We have a non-discrimination policy here. We do not discriminate against anybody in this business. You have to, display these things. And like I've said before, when you get federal property, we will walk you through all of this. I know that the information that I'm throwing at you may seem to be a little bit overwhelming, but I assure you, once you get that first piece of property, once you call and you talk to us and we walk you through everything, you're going to be like, okay, this is not that bad. It sounds a little overwhelming, but I assure you it's not. I just always like to make it a point to stress to everybody that a few things. One, the property's not free. You do have to pay the administrative fee. Two, you can't request a four-wheeler to go four-wheeling on the weekends. It has to be for your business. And I have given some entities four-wheelers. So, it does happen. But we are just going to make sure that you are using it for business purpose only. And don't think I'm going to bombard you with phone calls and emails and things of that nature as far as compliance checks go. It's not that way at all. You will our state plan of operation says that we have to contact you once every 12 months. However, we do have to have that initial contact with you to make sure that you have put the item into service so that we know how long we have to follow up as far as compliance goes. If you're getting a chair or a table from us that didn't cost $5,000 originally, you're not going to have to worry about it. You're going to sign something saying, yeah, we're going to use the property like we're supposed to use it, and then that's going to be the end of it. But if you get a larger item, then, yeah, you're going to sign saying you're going to use it, but then we're going to contact you, see when you put it into service, and then we're going to follow up to make sure you use it for the 18 months. Now, if for some reason you get that piece of property and, I don't know, say due to COVID or whatever, I know that right now it's harder to get parts for certain things. We run into that with our business down here. I mean, even getting a lawnmower for us is taking longer than what it would typically take. So if you need to send a request and say, Elizabeth, we've tried to get the parts and everything in here to fix this, but rather than 12 months, it looks like we might need another month or two, that's fine. But you're going to have to send us an email, and you're going to have to request a longer time. As a matter of fact, I was sat in on a training session yesterday, and they were talking about making a form, GSA was, to where you can actually officially request that on a form, that extended period of time. We will grant that. We have to talk with GSA. I'm telling you, GSA will grant that too. It's not a problem most of the time. However, you have to request that prior to the end of your 12 months. If you don't request it prior to the end of your 12 months, technically you're out of compliance, and we can require that you bring the property back to us. And we don't want that at all. So you need to be sure to request it, prior to the end of the 12 months. Now, I will tell you something else too. When you are allocated a piece of property, we work as quickly as we can to do, once it's allocated to us and we've requested on your behalf, then what we do is we do what we call a distribution document. It is somewhat of it's an invoice because it tells you the service fee that you have to pay us. But keep in mind, it's not a sales document because you do not own the property. It's just a distribution document to show that we have distributed the property to you. Once it is allocated to you, from the date of allocation, you only have a couple of weeks to pick the property up. Or if we're getting it for you, then we have to pick the property up on your behalf. But if it is something to where you're going to be responsible for picking the property up, then keep in mind, if you're not there within the first 2 weeks, then you can possibly lose that property. If you need an extension of time to pick the property up, just like with the cannibalization or the time extension to put something into service, you're going to have to send us an email and say, hey, I need a little bit longer. Can we get this extended? Now, that is up to the property custodian. That's not up to us, but we will gladly pass that request on for you. The majority of the time, they're going to grant it because they've already, you want the property. They want to have the property. They want you to get the property. Unless it's an item to where, say, you've had half a dozen people request it, half a dozen states, then they may not be as quick to extend that time period because they know somebody else is willing to come and get it tomorrow. So keep that in mind, that they're strict on pickup times, and we have to be very strict on in-service, but you can request an extension. So let's see what the next slide is here. Okay, this is our contact information. And like I said, you're going to email any request for property or anything to Doug or Matt. Now, you're welcome to copy me on it. I will be glad to request anything if the two of them are not available. However, I would suggest that you do send the request to them and just copy me on it. Now, if anybody has any questions or anything, now is the time to send those to me. I know that there were a couple of questions that were submitted earlier, and I'm going to look here while you guys are sending me questions. I'm going to look here at these other questions. I know that I had received one regarding whether or not spouses could qualify for this. It is my understanding that if you are the spouse of a veteran, that you too can qualify. However, you will have to go to the VetBiz site to confirm all that and see what you have to do to qualify, because we don't have that information, and I'm just not sure of what the requirements are for the spouses. Okay, the questions that I have are, like I said, I just answered the one regarding the military spouses. As far as I know, you can get property. As far as subscribing to notifications for different type of property, you can let us know what you want so that we can keep a want list. I don't know, to be honest with you, if GSA, if you can go and do a want list on their site. That I'm not familiar with. Let me try to pull up the site here and see what it says. It talked about, the other question was any small businesses that are excluded. As I said earlier, as far as I know, the only thing that's going to be excluded are businesses that are illegal at the federal level. And land or real estate, it is not available through this program. This is only personal property. It is not real property. Now, I'm not receiving any questions from anybody. So if you guys have them, I'll hold on here for a couple minutes more before we stop just to see. And I'll tell you something else too. When you go to this GSA site, they've got this third-party verification. Don't let that intimidate you any. What I had to do, you can set it up a couple different ways. You can have it call your phone, and then it'll give you a code, and you can enter it. Now, for me, I just did it on my smartphone. And then what it does is it throws me a code on my smartphone when I want to log in. And you can go in, and when you do your login and stuff, it's good for certain period of time. I know for me, I have to go in and reset mine ever so often. So if you guys run into anything like that and you're trying to get in and for some reason you can't, just give us a call and we'll check to see what the issue is. Okay, so that's what I'm doing now is I'm doing my Google Authenticator here to get logged in. Now, I can tell you right now, for those of you that are interested in farm equipment and stuff, right now we're looking at, I see like 107 things that are available. What you may want to consider, though, when you're going out and you're doing your search, you can do an advanced search by state. Now, if you're going to go pick this stuff up yourself rather than have us do it, then you may want to look at just the surrounding states because you just you don't know what it's going to cost to have something shipped to you or whatever. So if you can just go pick it up, then it'd be a little bit easier. So what I'm looking for right now is, I'm just going to see if there's any tractors or anything available. Okay. I do see a question. It says, is there another program for veterans to acquire excess property not to be utilized in their business? Not as far as I know. However, I do know that there is some different benefits and stuff that veterans can get, and you might be able to find that on the VetBiz page. But what you can do is you can go to GSA Access and okay. And what happens, just so you understand with the program, when something is not requested through the donation program and they're not able to donate it to a state, what they'll do is they will go out and they will put it on GSA sales. So you can still go to GSAaccess.gov and there's information on the site to where you can click on sales to see if something has dropped down to sales. And then you can go and you can bid on the items. So you may possibly be able to bid on something and get it that way. Because what happens, even like I was talking about you guys possibly returning property to us if you decide that you can't utilize it and it's still within the compliance period and you don't hold title to it, when it comes back to us, we will go and we will see if any states want the property. If they don't, then we can auction it right here from our site. And what we'll do is we go ahead and notify GSA and we say, hey, no other SASP want it or they don't want to come pick it up, it's sitting here. They will go and put it on GSA sales. And then it will be auctioned. And then if you win, then you come here and get it. Now, if you get it that way, then you have title to it. There is no compliance period or anything like that. You actually own the property if you get it through GSA sales. Now, just to let you all know, what I'm looking at here is I went in and I just typed in, tractor for a search. And I do see some tractors available. I see one right now that is available in Ohio. Surplus release date is 4/26/2021, and it is listed as repairable. It has it says is as is. Everything you get is going to be as is. The conditions that you want to look for is like repairable. Some stuff is new, believe it or not. Now, you're not going to find a new tractor, I don't think. Of course, you never know. However, we have seen a lot of new stuff come through, like water. If they request water and they don't need it, then we've seen water bottles come through. We have seen gloves, things like that, and it's brand new. We see clothes sometimes. We see boots that are brand new, and as long as you're going to use it in your business, hey, you're welcome to request it. But just to give you an idea, with this tractor, there is one available in Ohio. Original acquisition cost $35,000. If you would get that, then it would be $3,500 is what we would charge, possibly. Like I said, it just depends, but to give you an idea of what's out there. Okay. Which West Virginia agency handles West Virginia excess commercial real estate property and land? You would need to contact the real estate division. And to be honest with you, I'm not really involved in anything like that. I get calls all the time, and I just refer everybody to the real estate division, and I'm not sure how they handle any of that. But if you go to WV.gov and you type on agencies, click on R, and then you'll come down to real estate, and then there is your contact information for real estate. Can you use property in other states? That is one of the things that we were talking to GSA about. And yes, if you are a West Virginia business and you do go out of state and, conduct business, say you're on the border and you go and, I'm just throwing stuff out here. I don't know. Say you've got a paving company or something and you request a truck for that, then yes, you can go, and as long as you are still conducting your business, if you do it out of state, that's fine. You don't have to not use the property simply because the job that you have received is in another state. You are able to take it out of state. Can you get equipment if I'm a sole proprietor? You can, so long as you are a veteran-owned business. If you are not a veteran-owned business, then you don't qualify for this program. However, I will mention a couple of other things to you all. If you fall into one of the other type of businesses that are eligible, then you may be able to qualify that way. Now, I'm going to just very quickly read these off to you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I know the majority of the people that I'm talking to are veterans. But if you operate a program for older individuals, if you have a child care center, a school for the handicapped, if you're a museum, or if you are a training center. Now, as far as training centers and things like that, like I said, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but if you're a training center, then you're going to have to be accredited or licensed or approved to be that. If you are a provider of assistance to the homeless or impoverished, a medical institution, healthcare center, hospital, clinic, sheltered workshop, or library, or any sort of school or any tax-supported entity, then you can still qualify. And what you can do, if you're any of those entities, then you can go and click on the application for eligibility right now and see the one that's out there, and it lists the type or purpose of organization. You have to fall into one of those in order to be eligible if you're not a veteran-owned small business. However, I will also tell you that if you are a nonprofit, now obviously that's not going to apply to the veteran businesses because they're going to be for-profit benefits, or businesses, excuse me. But if you're a nonprofit and you have a 501c3, then you may qualify for the state surplus property program. And that's the same application that's out there right now. And why do you care? Why, what's the benefit of qualifying for the state side? Well, one thing, if you come down here and you go shopping in our warehouse, then you qualify for a discount if you get 3 or more items. You can put items on hold, and you also have the ability to come in and request an item, and we will hold it for our eligible organizations before we make it available to the public. And like I said, that's a lot of information, so by all means, know that you can call down here and talk to us directly if you have questions about any of the other programs that aren't related to veteran-owned businesses. Okay, and just to confirm, the only cost is the administrative fee. How much is that? Well, that's what I was talking about earlier. It can vary. We tell everybody that it's 10% of the original acquisition cost. However, there's times that it's not going to be that much. The more people that we get involved in the program, the less that you're going to have to pay for property. Because to give you an idea of what does it cost to operate this program, right now I have one full-time employee, and then I've got another employee that's working part-time. I am in the process. I just posted for a new position to get somebody to work in the federal warehouse. So I'm going to be looking at the salary for like 2.5 people. And then utilities, I have to pay rent on the building that I use. So any overhead that's involved, that's going to be split between all my donees, active donees that receive property. If I have to go pick an item up for you, then I will bill you for picking the item up. What will I bill you? I'm going to bill you the cost of my driver. I'm going to bill you fuel, things of that nature. So I do everything I can to keep the cost down as much as possible. So it just depends on the item you get, but what we will do when you call and tell me that you want an item, I'll let you know what the administrative fee is going to be before we even request it, so that you know whether or not you're willing to pay it, or maybe I'm charging too much, maybe we need to discuss it, whatever. But when GSA reviews me at the end, I think I'm coming up for review here within the next year. My goal is always to break even or come as close as possible to breaking even. This is not a for-profit program, but I receive zero money as far as an appropriation from the state, because I'm not supposed to use the state money. It's supposed to be self-sufficient. So as a general guide, look at it, it's probably 10% of the original acquisition cost. But if it's a really expensive item, then it's probably going to be even less than that, because my goal is to get property to veterans at the lowest cost possible. Now, does anybody else have any questions? Well, our main number, of course, it's on this contact information up here at the top, is 304-766-2626. And you see Doug and Matt and my direct numbers. You guys are welcome to call us. We are in the office from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. But as I said earlier, we have limited warehouse hours just because of COVID and we have to clean. So we are open to the public from 9 to 3. If any of you all are close enough to where you want to come here and just shop and look and see what we have, you are more than welcome to do so. We built a new facility a few years ago. Our old warehouse was in really bad shape, and we had no choice but to build a new facility. So what we've done is our state side is on the right-hand side when you come in, but we also have the federal warehouse on the left-hand side, and we can take you over there. As long as you have an application and you're eligible, then we can show you what we have as far as federal property over there. Like I said before, let me know what you want when you fill out your application. Tell me, this is what I'm interested in, and then we'll do everything in our power to have the property here so that you can just come here and shop and, take it with you, and you don't have to wait to request it to see if you get it. Okay, guys, since I'm not seeing any questions, I know we had scheduled this for an hour and a half, but I wasn't, since we hadn't done a presentation like this before, I wasn't sure how many questions I was going to have. So I think we'll go ahead and stop here, but I'm just going back. I wanted to click back. Here's a few links to the Veterans First Verification Program. The links for the required documents. You can click on it right here. If you look, create a vendor profile, the www.vip.vetbiz, that will take you to, let me make sure they've not changed that, because last time I had a little bit of trouble getting on that. .vetbiz.va.gov. Yeah, you can still type on vetbiz.va.gov, and then you can just kind of look around there, and it tells you, if you scroll down the page on the Left-hand side, it says verification. Get start with the Vet First verification program. That'll get you started. And then also over here, find verified firms. If you have already gotten verified, you should be able to search right there, print out what you need to attach to the application. And as promised, I will have the veterans application on the website by the end of the week. So I appreciate you guys calling in and listening today. As we get more information, you know, we may try to do another one of these webinars or something, but just follow WVSurplus.gov. Go on there and you can follow us on Facebook, or you can go to our website, and any updates regarding the program, we will put there if you just click on the Veterans tab. Thank you all so much for calling in, and I hope you have a wonderful